So, welcome back to the plot. It is day 3 and I am so happy to say that my sweet peas that I put outside last night are still here. The overall goal for today is to level off the seating area, plant up the sweet peas, plant a few things around and create a bit of an edge and really designate that space. And yeah, I'm just so excited to just get cracking. Let's just have a quick look and see how the plot is looking right now on day 3. So yesterday I sorted out the strawberries, put them all to the one end of this bed, and the ones that are still over on this side I'm going to be potting up into some pots, and so this whole space will be clear, ready for something else. Here is the start of a little tomato bed which I will be finishing off today, just adding a little bit more straw to the top, and then I'll keep on top of earthing up the potatoes as they grow. And lastly is the sweet pea structure, which was the last thing I did before I left the plot yesterday. And I've redid this whole area, and this is going to be the main focus for today. The greenhouse is wonky, so my stepdad is currently attempting to readjust, dig underneath, dig the ground away, let the greenhouse sink down, and potentially that will then mean this window will be able to close. So I have help today, this morning on the plot, and we're just gonna get cracking. And I've got a few plants that's come up from home which I can put into the space, so I'll just set up the camera and see what we do.
I think I've said before that this area is where I want to put my seating area, and there were lots of those 2x2 slabs around the plot which were perfect to put together and make a patio from. So I'm reusing what I have around the plot. These are some of the plants that I've got, as well as the sweet peas to plant around this area. We weren't intending to do anything with the greenhouse. That was a surprise when we got to the plot on this day. So I actually didn't plant any plants out because we needed to make sure that the space was still accessible for my stepdad to get in and out, and I didn't want to get the plants squashed. So I brought the plants with me, but I didn't actually get them in the ground today. As with every project so far, everything starts with weeding. It's going to be that way for a good few weeks, I think. But we weeded as much of the space as we needed to, and I gave the area a hoe. I don't think I've ever used a hoe before in my life. But it is so satisfying seeing the weeds come up, because a small weeding makes such a huge difference. Behind the sweet pea trellis to the left is one of the rhubarb plants, and in front of me is a comfrey. A comfrey is what my mum would class a weed, but it's actually a really great flowering plant. Bees go nuts for it. It is very beneficial when put in things like ointments for a range of maladies. Just don't eat it. For gardeners, comfrey is incredibly beneficial because it is full of nutrients, and you can actually make a fertilizer from it, which is called comfrey tea. So you essentially ferment the comfrey down, and it produces a fertilizer which you can then dilute in your water. So there's actually quite a lot of comfrey around the allotment. I don't have much on my plot, but neighbours have quite a lot of plants, and I've been offered some, and so I will be trying to make my own comfrey tea for the first time, which I'm quite excited about. While I'm levelling out the area for the paving slabs, which is what I'm doing here, my mum was working on the compost area behind the greenhouse. A lot of this stuff is to be thrown out. There is a lot of sticky willy weed in there which would contaminate, so I'm not putting that in the compost bin. But there was some good soil under there, and also all this mesh, which is going to be really useful for various projects over the plot. And my stepdad was beavering away with the greenhouse. It was quite shocking seeing it in this state, but I trusted the process and it is looking much better now. The greenhouse has already sunk quite a lot. You can see how much it's gone down because those metal bits were on top of the wood before he started, so progress is certainly being made.
I need to chop this cane into 6 pieces and they are going to stick into the ground, and then the tops of the canes will be level, so that'll give me an idea of where to work to, and then we'll bring the soil right to that level, and then the ground should be pretty good to go for the paving slabs.
Around the plot there were 6 of those 2x2 slabs, so that was perfect for a space of 6x4, and I just needed to decide exactly where to put those, and I've tried to make them as central to where the sweet pea trellis is as possible. And then, as I said before, the dowels get stuck in the ground, and then using the spirit level, I make sure that all the dowels, the top of the dowels are level, and then that's what I will use to guide where the soil should be. And so I've used 6 dowels in a configuration so I can reach between them with the spirit level, and it just gives a good guide really. So I'm just constantly measuring, hammering until I get it pretty level, and that's just the whole process. It's a lot of trial and error and it takes a while, but it's certainly worth putting the effort in, because then when it comes to putting the slabs down, hopefully it's going to be a lot easier and we're not going to be having to do lots of readjustments later on. Mum made quite a lot of progress with the compost bins, and there was all this really horrible spiky shrubby stick stuff, and we thought that would be a great thing to pop into the compost bin, which I moved closer to the greenhouse. This is going to be a temporary space for it, but if I can start getting some compost, it would be really beneficial to have it closer to the space that I'm using it, rather than having to cart it from the end of the plot to the front. Looking at my potatoes, I don't think I did them right, and I'm not entirely sure what happened, but the potatoes are supposed to be in a sort of mound, whereas mine were in a trench, and then the idea is as they grow you earth them up, which basically just means you add soil or something on top of them as they grow, and the mound essentially just gets taller. But I don't see how that would happen with mine because they are sunk into the ground. So what I'm trying to do is just trying to redefine a sort of mound type shape, and I don't know if I'm being very successful. I'm not entirely confident that any potatoes are going to grow. However, I am watering them, and I will hope and maybe I will be pleasantly surprised.
The greenhouse is all level and all the panes of glass are back in. You can see how much it's had to drop down because the wood was touching the top of this metal bracket, so That's a good way down that it's had to sink in order to get level. And this window actually now shuts, which is very useful indeed. There was one casualty because the greenhouse was so wonky, it was pushing the glass and it shattered, but my plot neighbour has really kindly offered a new pane of glass, as well as some of these fixings, which is incredibly kind and will mean that the greenhouse is fully functional and ready to go.
Here's how it's looking so far, and we're going to get it ready for the paving slabs. Just before doing the actual seating area, I needed to rearrange the structure of my canes so they matched the opposite side. So at the moment the right side was in a straight line and they needed to be in a triangle. So I just rearranged that, and the sweet pea trellis is looking really good, and I'm so excited to get my sweet peas in. The very final thing was just getting the ground as level as possible, finding where those canes were and adding in some soil where it needed to be brought up a little bit, and raking it over, making it as smooth as possible, and trying to get rid of as many hard, big stones. This ground is very stony and it's very difficult to get rid of them all, but where I can, I am trying to get rid of them. And it was finally time to get the slabs in place. These were unbelievably heavy. You cannot really see, maybe you can see, but my goodness me, they were heavy. This was a very delicate process, and I'm pretty sure I nearly lost some fingers at one point because the slab fell quite quickly, and we realised that the ground actually isn't quite as level as as I thought it was. As we laid each slab down, we checked the level of it and adjusted accordingly. So we would just lift one side, add a bit of soil underneath, measure it, lift another side, add a bit of soil underneath, or take away a bit of soil, and we just kept going like that. So this took a really, really long time, but it definitely needs to be precise. The reason this is one of the first projects I wanted to do is because I think it is important to have somewhere to just sit and reflect and observe the space that you're in. While my allotment is going to be requiring lots of work all the time, I also want to have a space to just enjoy the plot. I want somewhere to be where I don't have to constantly be working, and I want to watch the birds, and I think it's really important to have that space. So that's why I think it's a really important project for every plot, and just to have somewhere where you can observe your surroundings and really pay attention and be intentional with looking around you. While I want to do the majority of my projects on the plot myself, this is absolutely not something I could have done without help. Those slabs, as I said, were incredibly heavy. There's no way I could have lifted them, so I absolutely needed my mum's help with this one, and I'm very, very grateful that she was able to help me, because we worked really well together and it looks really good. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with this entire project. But thanks, Mum, you're the best.
There's so many slugs. I hope some birds will come and eat them all.
With the final slab in place and a little bit of encouragement to get it in exactly the right spot, I finally have a fully functional patio.
I am so pleased with how this has turned out. It's taken a lot longer than anticipated, but it was worth the effort, and the fact that the greenhouse is now straight and functional is huge and not something I was expecting today. So yeah, today didn't go entirely as planned, but all for the good, the greater good. I think one thing I'm going to have to realise is things are going to take a lot longer than I expect and plan for, and I want to move faster than I physically can. So I need to be a bit more realistic with time constraints and yeah, just enjoy the process, because I feel a little bit hectic at the moment. It's been a crazy 3 days. Tomorrow I'm back at work, so I won't be able to come onto the plot at least during the day. I might try and pop down after work, but it will be quite tight, so I'll have a break tomorrow to kind of catch my breath and be back on maybe Thursday afternoon, reinvigorated and ready to tackle the next thing and finally get my sweet peas in, which I really wanted to do today, but I can wait. I don't want to rush it. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing the progress, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, stay calm and carry on growing. Bye!